Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Rookie in the series, tied with Robert McGinnis for that 5th spot. Alex Peroni only a point behind in 7th spot, and then another point back to Benjamin Peterson in the 9th. So a real logjam for 4th on back, or 5th on back. Robert McGinnis all the way back to Benjamin Peterson. Only 4 points separate those. So lots of racing left to go this season. 2 rounds of racing here. Then Worldwide Technology Speedway, there'll be a back-to-back rounds, 2 at Portland. A pair of races at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and then they'll round out the season right here at Mid-Ohio in October with a pair of rounds. That's the makeup weekend for the canceled Toronto race. So again, in yesterday's qualifying, Kyle Kirkwood set the pole, a 1:11.35. David Malukas, the points leader, was second quick by about 0.3 of a second. Daniel Frost, Kirkwood's teammate on the Andretti team, virtually a dead heat with Malukas, only a couple hundredths separating those two. Linus Lundqvist was 4th quick yesterday. Devlin DiFrancesco and Benjamin Peterson will start in row number 3. Stingray Robb and Robert McGinnis will start today in row 4. Toby Sowery and Alex Peroni in row 5. Nikita Lashchkin and Christian Bogle in row 6. And Antonio Saravalli will be alone in row number 7.
Of the NTT IndyCar Series with another doubleheader weekend for rounds 11 and 12. Our driver analyst, Davey Hamilton, joins us. And Davey just wrapped up a pretty spirited IndyCar session. I would imagine a little track sweeping was needed to be done because, quite frankly, my friend, we saw the IndyCar Series drivers tested every corner and edge of this racetrack. A lot of dirt thrown around as those guys were pushing those races.
Yeah, I think turn 4, the exit turn 4, the lawnmower does not need to go there because we pretty much got that taken care of. He knows when he's slicing the grass off down through there. A lot of guys off in turn 4, guys sliding off in turn 8, turn 1. Been pretty, like you say, very spirited. These guys are finding the limits and maybe going just a tad over them right now. So we'll see what happens for this qualifying session here for the Indy Lights guys. And everybody right now is chasing Kirkwood. He's the guy to beat. He's the guy to beat right now.
Yeah, I think Simon Pagenaud might have been the biggest one I saw go off. I know they sell lawn mowers there at Menards, but as you mentioned, with the way these guys have pushed the race cars around, those front wings have trimmed plenty of grass, snow plows, so to speak, in some of the areas around this racetrack. But you mentioned, Davey, Kyle Kirkwood scores the pole position yesterday for race number 1 today. We're going to set the grid here in this morning qualifying session for race number 2 tomorrow. I know it gets a bit confusing, but the good news is plenty of racing throughout the course of the weekend for all these young drivers, and I mean young, on the road to Indy calendar as a lot of these championship fixtures start to take place and shape up a little bit.
Well, and that's what it's about, right? I mean, these drivers want to win this championship, get that scholarship to give the next level, which would be the NTT IndyCar Series a shot. And so it's very, you got 4 guys really in the game that have that opportunity. They're going to fight all the way to the end to try to get that the great opportunity that Indy Lights gives for the next step to the next level. So, but we got guys, some guy, Salary, for example. I'm going to say, I expected him to have a win already. I really did. I think he's a tremendous driver. Just hasn't been able to pull it off. Led some races, but just hasn't been able to pull it off. And it seems this weekend he can't find that little bit extra speed that he needs to try to pull off the win over Lucas, Kirkwood, and McGinnis. They seem to those are the 3 guys. And Lundqvist is another one that didn't have a lot of speed yesterday that is strong.
Majority of the field out on the racetrack. Again, this is a 30-minute all skate for these drivers to turn as many laps as they can get in, and we will set the grid based on lap time when the gun fires at the end of 30 minutes. Obviously, Davey, we're going to talk about those championship contenders because there are 3 of them at the top that are separated by just 8 points entering this weekend. But let's start, as you brought up, with some of those drivers in the back half of the field as we move into the second half of this season for some of these drivers who maybe aren't going to be in championship contention. What do you think the mindset? What is the goal for the drivers heading into the second half of the season who all of a sudden find themselves not in the championship hunt?
Win, win, win. Because even if you don't get the championship, winning is the next best thing. I mean, you want to win races. You want everybody to know that you have the capabilities to win the races. You just didn't have maybe the luck to go along with everything to win the championship. So even if you're not in the contention, winning a race, it gets everybody's attention. And I think we see some guys, like Bogle and Rob and Sarah Valley. They need to kind of get it to the next level. Even Peroni, we've seen some speed out of there, but just not the result yet. So if those guys can find themselves in victory lane, that makes up for a lot.
And the reality, Davey, I'm looking at the point standings right now, and the bottom 8 drivers of the 13 regulars are all newcomers to the Indy Lights Series. So a lot of learning to be done, and I would imagine for a majority of those guys, it's going to be a focus on setting up a sophomore or a second try in Indy Lights in 2022.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what's great about this series is there are a lot of rookies always in it. We know that. That's what it's for. We want to see a lot of, but we see 2-year, 3-year, 4-year drivers in this series as well continue to bang around here and try to get the luck, the experience, the funding, whatever they need to make it to the next level. And so it always has that nice little mix of guys that have been here before, the veterans, and these rookies trying to come in and beat them. So even if, I think it's always healthy to any time you're behind a wheel of a race car and on track is experience you're learning and getting ready for the next step.
We've got a pair of pit reporters joining us here on IndyCar Radio, patrolling the pit lane at Mid-Ohio to keep us updated on what is happening there. Let's first check in with Joel Sebastianelli. Joel, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. This is always a place where the championship hunt seems to be in large part decided one way or the other, right? Especially when this race was a little bit later in the season, whether it was Oliver Askew dominating with a sweep or Jack Harvey going both ways in 2 seasons, that battle with Ben Jones. So just something to keep an eye on, especially with Andretti locking up 6 of the last 7 poles here after Kyle Kirkwood's pole for race 1 yesterday afternoon. So we can keep an eye on that in this session. An eye on the skies, not much to see. Clear blue skies. There is not a single cloud. 67 degrees, the ambient temperature. 78 degrees on track if you were with us for IndyCar qualifying a little while ago. Already 8 degrees warmer, so things heating up. A beautiful day to be here at Mid-Ohio, if you are one of the lucky ones listening to us here in the stands.
Yeah, there's no doubt that July 4th weekend always anticipated to be pretty warm in the Midwest, but all told, looks like pretty good conditions for us to go racing all weekend long. And I mean all weekend long because Rob Howden, who also joins us on pit lane. Rob, it is a busy, busy weekend for the road to Indy. I know you are going to be quite busy tracking these 3 series all weekend long.
Yeah, Nick, 7 races in total. 3 races for USF 2000, for double headers for Indy Pro 2000 and Indy Lights. And we talk about the beautiful weather here today. It wasn't like that earlier. They were planning a ton of track time for all 3 series. It was an open test day on Thursday, and actually a bunch of rain happened throughout the day, earlier in the day, and at the end of the day, actually scuttling the last Indy Pro 2000 test. Lots of track time, though, Nick, for Indy Lights. They were on for a 90-minute session on Friday morning. Not something we normally see for a race weekend, but an open, unofficial test session for 90 minutes to kick things off on Friday. And then, of course, they had their practice, 30-minute practice later on in the day. One of the things we'll bring up, we talked a little bit, David touched on it a bit, with Linus Lundqvist just not really having the speed. The issue with Lundqvist is at the end of the practice session earlier today, he went off in the carousel. New tire run, out on cold tires, off in turn number 12. Turnaround, he did that at the very start of the practice session yesterday as well. Went off in the keyhole on cold tires, missed the entire session. So Linus Lundqvist behind the 8 ball a little bit. Really his only time on the racetrack was during qualifying for race number 1. So he's really behind at least a 30-minute session behind everybody else who's chasing for the championship.
Yeah, and all told, Rob did a pretty decent job, ultimately qualifying 4th. But Davey, the problem is that the 2 guys he's chasing in this championship, Kirkwood and Malukas, stuck those cars on the front row. So a lot of learning to do, even for the guys who we feel pretty confident all weekend long, like Linus Lundqvist, who's been fast all season long. Boy, those guys have to learn quick here at Mid-Ohio.
They got to do it quick. And one thing Rob mentioned, it's so great to see more track time for these guys. Like he said, Thursday they were here testing, and we've had a lot of track time for the Road to Indy series, not as much as just Indy Lights, but these guys are getting ample track time. They get to run 2 different races, which is always key, 2 qualifying runs. Just get the more laps, the better for these guys. And you're right, there's a championship to be had. We had those 4 drivers really that had the opportunity to do it, and they are going to fight to try to get it. And maybe they need to do the Pato Award deal. He said that at Detroit, if you recall, hey, the 2 guys ahead of me are ahead of me in points, so I just had to go past them. So I don't know if it's really that easy, but he made it look that easy. And so now that's what needs to happen with these guys. If somebody's ahead of you in the points, you need to do all you can to get around them.
Davey, right or wrong, the fact that we've got more track activity and that test session earlier in the week that Rob talked about, does that kind of help the bottom half of the field a little bit more than maybe just the guys at the top, that we can expect even more competitive racing as a lot of these rookies and newcomers get more track time on a weekend?
Yeah, without a doubt, because one thing with this track, it's very hard to really get the confidence to be fast and know the lines and so forth. So the more laps you can get for the guys towards the bottom, because the guys that are good, that know this track, that are already fast, they can only get little gains. The guys at the bottom, they have the opportunity to get the bigger gains. So yeah, absolutely, more track time helps the guys at the bottom.
All right, we've reached the 10-minute mark, 1/3 through this qualifying session. Here's your first look at speeds as all these drivers have got onto the racetrack. Just about everybody's turned 6 laps to kind of knock the shine off of a new set of Cooper tires. It is David Malukas, the fastest of the 13 right now, at 1:11.66. He has just clipped Kyle Kirkwood, who is second. Kirkwood 2/100ths of a second behind Kirkwood across the timing line. He'll pop the P1. So it's Kirkwood, Malukas, Frost, DeFrancesco, and Lundqvist, the top 5. Toby Sowery is 6th. Benjamin Pedersen 7th. Robert McGinnis is 8th. 9th is Stingray Robb. Alex Peroni is 10th. Antonio Serravalle 11th. Nikita Lasserskin is 12th. And Christian Bogle is 13th. Again, though, 19.5 minutes. So plenty of time for these drivers to probably test out another set of Cooper tires and pound the pavement here at Mid-Ohio, searching for speed. Let's go back to pit lane and check in once again with Rob Houghton.
Nick, thank you so much. You said it earlier in the broadcast, 10 races down, 10 races to go, halfway point of the season. So in my mind, we're also starting to think about 2022. There's going to be a lot of testing going on, drivers that we may have coming into the program for next year. I'm standing by with a really interesting character here in the paddock. If you're an IndyCar fan for a long time, you know the name Michel Jourdain. Michel, great to have you with us, but let's first start with the fact that you guys announced a new program, Andretti-Jourdain Autosport. Give us an update on what this partnership with Andretti is all about.
Well, yes, thank you. I'm very happy. You know, like you said, after being so many years here, we've been racing in Mexico the last 5-6 years, and with Michael Andretti, we announced a new team, Andretti-Jourdain Autosport, for the Supercopa Championship in Mexico. And you know, we have many goals, but one of them is to try to to bring young talent. We have a lot of young talent and a lot of Mexican history in the IndyCar family. And here we have this, to start here with Salvador. You know, I believe he's the best Mexican driver the last 5-6 years in Mexico, and he really deserves a good chance. And I think he has the talent to really make it good. But you know, first things first. He's going to test here on Tuesday, and from then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and talking about 2022, Nick, Salvador de Alba Jr. is joining me here right now. I've known you for a long time, back in the days running Supercars USA, Pro Nationals, and of course the Super Nationals as well. But you've been focused on Supercopa. You're doing a lot of racing down there in Mexico. You're going to test an Indy Lights car for Andretti on Tuesday. I see the smile on your face. Tell me what you're thinking about Tuesday.
We're very excited. As you said, I have a smile on my face since I arrived here to the States on Thursday. Very happy, pleased to drive an IndyCar lights. I'm happy to know everything here. I've been pleased to walk all over the track and see the cars driving around. And well, happy to jump on the car on Tuesday. But right now, let's try to learn the most here in the pits on the track, and let's see what happens on Tuesday.
Obviously, for a young driver like you coming out of Mexico, you see Pato O'Ward carrying that Mexican flag. What does it mean to you to have Michelle in your corner as well?
Well, I think it's everything to have him happy on the corner. I think thanks to him, I'm here in the States, and well, let's hope to work together on many years now. I've known him since 6 years ago. We've been teammates, and well, we're fighting on Mexico, and right now we're here together.
Andretti's Jeff Thorman joining us here as well. Jeff, let's get a quick word from you. You've got Michelle Jourdain here. You guys announced the new partnership. Salvador de Alba Jr. is going to run your Indy Lights car. Are we going to see him potentially as part of the team in 2022?
That's sort of the plan. We're hoping that it'll work out well for us and for Salvador. We're really excited also by partnering up with Michelle. So far, that's given us an access to the Mexican market, and as you said, it's really hot with Pato and Checo over in F1. So we enjoy being with Michel, and as he keeps feeding us young Mexican drivers.
I'm going to give you a call on Tuesday night. You're going to tell me how well he did, okay?
I'll be happy to do so.
Nick, there you go, a new young driver potentially in the series from Mexico next year, Salvador de Alba Jr. Remember that name, folks. He could be on the grid in 2022.
It's good stuff, Rob, and great to hear from all three of those key players involved in that potential test session. And Davey, I got to imagine for that young Mexican driver, super valuable. Hey, he's going to test here later in the week, but like it's a bird's eye view on pit lane of how everything runs with Andretti Autosport. I imagine that's got to be super helpful.
Yeah, you know, the best thing he could do is exactly what he's doing. Be down with the team when they're on the grid, on the pit box, listen to the radio, the communication, how it all works. Just entering the pits, exiting the pits, seeing what they do to the cars. And then when the other cars are on track, he seems to be doing the right thing as well. That means going around this entire facility, watching every corner, and really analyzing where the cars need to be, what kind of speed they have, what gear they're in, and some things like that. So, you know, I have a good feeling that, you know, Michelle, you know, raced with him back in the day, and he's kept an eye on drivers out of Mexico and really kind of given a lot of them opportunities to come over here, especially now when he teams up with Andretti. So it's going to be exciting to see how that test goes on Tuesday and see if next year we'll see him full-time on the grid.
And I thought JF made a great point there, Davey, about, I mean, just hearing recently that Mexican driver market, I mean, with how good that Sergio Perez has looked over in Formula One, and then obviously here in IndyCar with how Pato O'Ward has blown us all away. Very cool to see that our neighbors from the South, that there is certainly some interest to go racing in IndyCar. Of course, you know, the legacy Adrian Fernandez for many years in IndyCar as well, and Michelle Jourdain. I think it's pretty positive to see.
Yeah, no, without a question, and we see that, you know, in certain countries. You know, I mean, Brazilian. Remember having Brazilian drivers at one time were coming up, and then it's slimmed down just a little bit. But now the Mexican drivers are firing back up. Some really good talent coming out of there. So it is exciting. I mean, one great thing with all of our series, from Road to Indy all the way to IndyCar, we want the best drivers in the world, and that means they come from all over the world. And seeing drivers come from other countries to come to the United States to race our series is pretty rewarding. So it's fun to see those guys want to come here, but it's great to see all the talent from all over this world.
Yep, there's no doubt. The international flair is what makes IndyCar truly unique, and I know race fans get a real kick out of seeing drivers from all over the world race right here in North America. 13 and a half minutes to go in this qualifying session for Indy Lights to set the grid for Sunday's race 2. Kyle Kirkwood at the top of timing and scoring at 1:11.612. He's turned 8 laps in this session. Rest of the top 5, David Malukas, Daniel Frost, Devlin DiFrancesco, and Linus Lundqvist. Back to pit lane and Joel Sebastianelli. Joel?
It's that time for a fresh set of Cooper tires. If stickers are not on yet, they will be momentarily. Every single car is stationed on pit lane, either performing a tire change or with that fresh set of stickers sitting right next to the car. Christian Bogle is the final taker. He just pulled onto pit lane about 30 seconds ago. Hot laps coming up momentarily, any final adjustments being performed, although I've only seen that on about 2 cars. The 59 of Nikita Lastachkin is getting an adjustment. They're performing a turn of wing on Benjamin Pedersen as well. What are you seeing, Rob?
Indeed, down to my end of the pit lane, at the far end here, Joel, more adjustments. I think you're probably seeing up front there. I saw a front wing change for Daniel Frost. Looked like a rear rake change, a ride height change for Toby Sauer. They had the rear cowl off as well for Stingray Rob. For Juncos Racing, a little damper adjustment there. Nothing in terms of putting new dampers in or new springs, but just a little adjustment on the damper. That's it. And otherwise, as you said, everybody with fresh boots on. We got fresh Coopers. Nick, time to go qualifying.
And as Joel talked about, I mean, the track went silent there momentarily as all 13 drivers came to pit lane. Good to hear a couple engines fired in the background. I think that's Antonio Serravalle, the driver for that one-car family-owned team, has gone back on the racetrack. Right now, he is 11th fastest, coming off of a weekend at Road America where he finished 6th and 10th. Rob?
Yeah, you're talking about Antonio Serravalle. I know that you we're talking a bit with Davey about what these guys at the further at the tail of the field in terms of points, in terms of results, are doing. Really interesting a focus, of course, for the Serravalle team, right? You mentioned they're a family team. They put this program together late in the going, kind of got things rolling in late February and March before we started things off. That's Alex Peroni ripping away. But this is a great program. It is a family program, but I just talked to their father, Antonio Serravalle. They're looking at going to a 2-car team next year. He wants to buy a new car. He's already talked to Delara. So this isn't just going to be a one-and-done deal for Serravalle. They're really trying to build a program, and we'll look to go for 2 cars in 2022.
And Davey, of course, the advantage of having multiple cars on a weekend is what? Because Antonio Serravalle, the only single car operation in this field this year.
Yeah, big deficit when you're the only car out there, only car on your team, because you can't try different things, different setups, and with the track time that you're allowed, and the input from the other driver is so key to make sure that that you know you're getting the most out of the car and the most out of that particular setup. So that's what multi-car teams are about. It's the drivers coming in and giving debriefs and know exactly what their car's doing, and you have the option of trying, hey, let's try these different setups on different race cars and see which one works the best. When you're a single car team, it just takes too long to go through that whole array of things that you have opportunities to change and do to go faster. So going to a 2-car team will help them out as a whole for sure.
And all told, Davey, I mean, it's hard not to be impressed. I mean, Serravalle, for the most part, every week is in the bottom 3 or 4, but has had some pretty nice runs, finished 6th in a race at Road America. And again, for a 1-car operation that just kind of fired this thing up in the final weeks before the start of the season, it's not like they've been out to lunch. He's 11th in points out of 13. That team obviously punching up, but has done a nice job of putting themselves in the pack.
Well, one thing you got to remember, this isn't easy. I mean, these cars, they're very technical. They're not much different than an IndyCar. They don't have as much telemetry on them, but it's hard to get them fast, and they're so competitive. The times are all right on top of each other. So for a 1-car team, as you said, and the lack of experience that they have, not doing too bad. But like I say, getting a 2nd car out there will really help this team accelerate and get to the next level. And another thing it does, whenever you have a teammate, which I was fortunate to have a majority of the time that I was in IndyCar and through the ranks, is it brings the best out of the driver. You know that your teammates, you want to work together, and if I didn't win, I wanted my teammate to win. But you're trying to beat each other. There's no question about it. So it brings the best out of you as a driver. Now, it's you 2 or 3 against the entire field, obviously. But, and like I say, you want to beat your teammate, but you need to work together and be happy when they win as well.
Yep, and there's no doubt that up and down the Indy Lights paddock, there is a lot of talent and more importantly, a lot of experience with teams like Carlin and Juncos and Andretti Autosport and the quick experience that the guys at the Global Racing Group and HMD have put together here in the last couple of years. It is super competitive in Indy Lights, and that's why we have seen such a compelling championship, really with 3 drivers slugging it out every single week, Malukas, Lundqvist, and Kirkwood. This championship far from being decided as we have headed into the second half of the season. We have headed into the second half of this qualifying session as well, as the action on track starting to pick up with 8 minutes to go. And Rob Howden, anyone left on pit lane there at Mid-Ohio?
Yeah, Nick, it's clear right now. Daniel Frost just pulled out. He was the last driver to lead, so all 13 cars back on the racetrack. And as you said, now it's time to go to work and see who's going to be P1 for race number 2.
It's Kyle Kirkwood, who is P1 at the moment with a lap time of 1:11.612. Qualifying track record was set by Oliver Askew in 2019 at 1:10.80. So we'll see if we can get close to that. That would take a pretty big effort by these drivers. Yesterday's quick time to grab the pole position by Kyle Kirkwood was a 1:11.3. And again, fast time right now at a 1:11.6. So Davey, you would have to think that at the very least with these new set of Cooper tires, these engines warmed up, these drivers are going to find those 2 or 3 tenths to kind of match those qualifying laps that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't exceed them just a little bit, just because they've had the opportunity to have a little more track time, change their cars, try to get them a little bit better, and know what it takes. Another thing that the big advantage in today's qualifying schedule is it's a lot easier for these guys. I'm not saying it's easy, but it used to be back, as you remember, Nick, 1 car at a time. You go out and you get your couple laps, and that was it. And then if you made a mistake of those 2 laps, you were out. The way the qualifying format is now, you get multiple laps. They've been out there for, it's a 30-minute run, so you can take lap after lap and change your car and come in and put new tires on and really try to get it right. So it does make it easier for these drivers and not near the pressure of qualifying as having to go out there and get it done, for example, like Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where it's a 4-lap average and you have to get every lap just right.
Yeah, every single driver in this session has turned at least 9 laps. Daniel Frost with the fewest at 9. Everybody else in double digits. And drivers like Antonio Saravalli, Christian Vogel, they've turned 13 laps in this session. So to Davey's point, these sessions certainly help those drivers push, because if you have to throw away a lap, the good news is you've got a half hour to get it right. But we are at that point in time where these drivers are going to try to maximize the grip on those Cooper tires. 6 minutes to go. Kyle Kirkwood right now P1, David Malukas is second, Daniel Frost trying to shake off what I know was a bit of a disappointing weekend when he thought he might come away with a race win at Road America. He's 3rd fastest right now. Devlin DeFrancesco in that 17 car for Andretti Steinbrenner Racing. He's shown some good speed this weekend. Right now sits in 4th. Linus Lundqvist is 5th. Toby Sowery is 6th. Alex Peroni is 7th. Benjamin Pedersen is 8th. Stingray Robb is 9th. 10th is Robert McGinnis. 11th is Lashushkin. 12th, Saravalli. 13th, Christian Vogel. And again, just over 5 minutes to go on this 2.2-mile road course here at Mid-Ohio. And Davey, some long straightaways. Any opportunities for these drivers to use the aerodynamic draft, or is it more important for them simply to get spread out to avoid any of that aero wash or a mistake by someone ahead of you?
Well, you definitely don't want the aero wash and be too close to somebody in the corners, but this, coming off of the final turn 13, going down the front straightaway into turn 1, even though it's not super long, if you could time it, be about 20, 25 car lengths back and take advantage of a little bit of draft there, then off at turn 1, going towards turn 2, take a little bit of advantage on that draft. But the key one, get through turn 2, going to that long back straightaway down into turn 4. If you can take advantage of that, and that does help. There's some free air, get down into turn 4, but not enough, not close enough to where it makes your car not handle well in the corners. That can be an advantage. Hard to get that timing just right, but if you can take advantage of it. Just a little, a tenth or 2 makes a huge difference.
Davey, better to be set up for the rhythm portion of this racetrack on the back half of the lap, or that part of the racetrack you just talked about leading down to the keyhole and out of the keyhole with those long straightaways? Where do you want to be good here at Mid-Ohio?
Well, for qualifying, you want to be good all through Thunder Valley, through the carousel. That's the technical parts. You need to be fast through there because that's the majority of the racetrack. So for qualifying, for sure there. But when it comes race time, it kind of changes. You can't really pass through those areas. So if you could just kind of hold your own, but then be fast off of turn 13, off of turn 1, off of turn 2, that's the key. Going on to those long straightaways to get through turn 4. So kind of changes, you know, a little bit from qualifying where you need to be fast to have a good lap time. But when it comes racing, it does change a bit to be fast going onto those straightaways.
Boy, the Russian driver, Nikita Lasushkin, he is pushing hard, sitting in 11th right now. Saw him kick up a little bit of dirt running wide out of the keyhole, and then that car wiggled a bit through the S's. Antonio Serravalle through the Thunder Valley portion of the racetrack. That car wiggled a bit as well as those drivers, Davey, really start to feel the G-forces there. And we saw in the IndyCar session, guys getting light at the top of that hill. All of this racetrack, these cars are really a handful to hang on to in Indy Lights, just as much as they are in IndyCar.
Yeah, they are. And one thing that this track, we talked earlier about it with Mark Janes and IndyCar practice, was this track is really pretty smooth through the years and the weather and everything that could affect it and make it bumpy. It really is a pretty smooth, good track. But there's certain areas where you take advantage of the curbing, and it helps turn the car at times and trying to get a straight line through those corners. And once you hit that curbing, it does get the tires off the ground. And you know, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure when the tires are not on the ground, it's not going to get traction or grip. So you have to be careful with that to make sure that you don't use too much curb in some of these corners and get the front end of the air.
It appears that these drivers have found the sweet spot on those Cooper tires right here in the final couple minutes of qualifying. Just over 2 minutes to go. We've got a new driver at the top of timing and scoring. It is Daniel Frost, who has gone quickest at a minute 11.246. That eclipses the fast lap we saw in qualifying yesterday, and he's got nearly 4/10 on the rest of the field. Kyle Kirkwood gets bumped down to second. Linus Lundqvist has found some speed. He's up to a minute 11.6. He sits in third. In fact, all three championship contenders, Kirkwood, Lundqvist, and Malukas right now, sitting on lap times of a minute 11.6. Now, that may change, Davey, here in the final 90 seconds, but we talk about just how close all these drivers are in terms of the point standings. Well, it's backing up on the stopwatches. They are nearly identical, sitting second, third, and fourth behind Frost.
Yeah, how impressive is that? I mean, you see a guy 4/10 up being for Daniel Frost, as you say, in P1, but wow, the next three are right on top of each other. I mean, just a fraction apart. And then they have a little bit of a spread to DeFrancesco at a couple tenths, but not much. And then it starts to tighten back up again. So how impressive right now with only 1 minute left. Nick, we'll see if somebody could beat Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel Frost right now making his way back out of the front straightaway again, nearly 4/10 clear of this field. That would be another big pole position. It would be his third of the season, but also be his third straight because he was remarkably quick at Road America, sweeping those two pole position. He heads into the keyhole. He's chasing after a couple cars ahead of him. That's Alex Peroni and Toby Sowery, who are trying to find some speed. Sowery sits in 8th. Peroni right now, what would probably be a disappointing 10th, as that Carlin Racing driver, for the most part this season, has been right there in the mid-pack. But it is Frost, Kirkwood, Lundqvist, Malukas, DeFrancesco, Robert McGinnis, the driver from New York, across the timing line. He finds a little bit of speed to move himself up to the 6th position, running a lap of a minute 12 flat. But again, it is Daniel Frost, the one everyone is chasing, and Davey, the sand running out of the hourglass. In fact, we're under 5 seconds, about to see the checkered flag. If these drivers have one more big lap in it, they need to find it right now.
Yeah, there it is. The checkered flag is out. The time's clicked. And by the way, the checkered flag comes out really in turn 12. And so if you pass that point, we're going to see cars starting to come in right now. That's where the checkered flag would come out. A few guys just cleared it, so it's going to be, you know, another minute 11 or a little over a minute before we see who's going to be on the pole. But right now, Frost looks very solid with Kirkwood in second. Lundqvist jumps up into that 3rd position. So these times are on top of each other right now. And you look at the Junko's cars, almost identical times with those with Sowery and Stingray Robb.
Yeah, those guys set up pretty evenly in 8th and 9th. One of the first drivers that was across the timing line to complete his final lap was David Malukas. He will do no better than 4th. Our points leader, who will start on the front row Looks like just about all the heavy hitters. Only one we're waiting on is Linus Lundqvist, trying to knock off Daniel Frost. Lundqvist across the timing line. He will not improve. Not a lot of change here in the final few minutes. Toby Sowery still needs to cross the timing line. He's in 8th. Alex Peroni does as well in 10th. But we can already see a little bit of celebrating down there on pit lane, as it looks like Daniel Frost with a big qualifying lap is going to grab the pole position. Kyle Kirkwood took a good swing, Davey, as he got to within a 1/10 of a second at 1:11, but Frost can now pop out of that race car. That driver from the Singapore quickly showing the prowess in qualifying. He just scored a 3rd pole position this year. Very impressive run for that young driver.
Yeah, it sure is. And you got to look at the team owners. I mean, it's really the HMD Global against Andretti. Those two teams seem to be the dominant teams so far, the only teams that have won races. And right now, at this particular racetrack, looks like Andretti has a nice handle on it.
And I should make a correction. It is not the 3rd straight pole for Daniel Frost, because they would, of course, quit qualifying yesterday, but 3 out of 4 ain't too shabby for the young driver from the Singapore. Here's how things shake out as qualifying has ended here in Indy Lights. For the front row for race number 2 tomorrow here on IndyCar Radio, it'll be Daniel Frost along with his Andretti teammate Kyle Kirkwood. Linus Lundqvist and David Malukas will start row number 2. Devlin DeFrancesco and Robert McGinnis in row number 3. Row 4, Benjamin Pedersen and Toby Sowery. Stingray Robb and Alex Peroni in row number 5. Row 6, Antonio Saravalli and Nikita Lashiskin. And then 13th will be Christian Bogle. Let's hear from our pole sitter standing by, I believe, with Rob Howden.
Indeed, Nick. Daniel Frost with you right here. 3 poles in the last 4 races. You got qualifying down right now. Tell me about that lap.
Oh man, it was an awesome lap. I'm really proud of that one. We've been working really hard, especially that first run. We were losing a little bit in the high-speed stuff, but we managed to figure it out in that short period of time. And then we fully sent it and got a big lapper in. So yeah, I'm really proud of getting that pole position again. Shows that we have the raw pace, and I'm really happy.
What particular part of the racetrack did you need to nail? What's the toughest part here to get a good lap in?
It seemed like we were lacking a 1 in 11 mostly. Like we just couldn't roll that speed. We did like a front wing change, and then we managed to solve that straight away. And we found like all the time we needed, and then we got the fastest lap.
Nicely done, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
He'll be back on track today, Nick Yeoman, but he'll be on pole position tomorrow for race number 2 for Indy Lights. That's Daniel Frost.
Yep, we'll let Rob hustle over, because I could see some more Road to Indy cars already staging on pit lane. He's got a race to call. Let's hear from the driver who will start 2nd tomorrow on the pole later today. His name is Kyle Kirkwood, and he's standing by with Joel Sebastianelli.
Kyle Kirkwood is really good here. In fact, he has won all 4 races on the road to Indy that he's raced at Mid-Ohio, qualifying 2nd today. Why is this one of your favorite tracks?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. It's probably the track that I've got the most time at in general. But it's something about just high-speed, high-grip tracks that I really enjoy, and Mid-Ohio tends to work for me, so I tend to like places that work for me. So, but no, P2 there, I think we definitely should have had the pole, but we just got kind of caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think driver ahead of me went off track twice in our peak laps and drug dirt onto the track right at the wrong time. So a bit unfortunate with that, but P2, or front row lockout for Andretti is not too bad either. So.
Well, you've got the 2 start-finish lines here at Mid-Ohio. With where you start the race, how big a difference does it make being on the outside of that front row?
You want to be on the inside. Going into one, you control the pace. I'm not sure what's going to happen on start. Typically here, it's really hard to pass. Maybe we can utilize push to pass to get by Daniel tomorrow, but for today, we're gonna start from the point of the field and first, and hopefully just walk away with it.
How confident are you that you can do that in race 1?
Fairly confident. Like I said, this track's really hard to pass on, so it's kind of whoever gets out front right away, and just get far enough to where push to pass isn't effective enough for the other guys, and we should be able to walk away.
4 for 4 in his career at Mid-Ohio. He'll see if he can make it 5 for 5 later today on IndyCar Radio. Nick.
Appreciate it, Joel. Great job by Kyle Kirkwood. Again, 2 front row starts. He'll be on the pole later today, but it is Daniel Frost who grabs the pole position for race number 2. Great job by Joel Sebastianelli and Rob Howden on pit lane. For Davey Hamilton, I'm Nick Yeoman. Next up on IndyCar Radio, bit of a short break. We'll be back with NTT IndyCar knockout qualifying, noon Eastern time. Mark Davey, the entire crew, including our turn announcers, Michael Young and Jake Query, will be out in position. We'll call NTT IndyCar qualifying. IndyCar will go practicing at 3:30. And then again, Indy Lights back on the racetrack, 4:20 Eastern time. For now.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you.
Go with the Coopers.
Cooper!
Championship so close they can taste it.
Oliver Askew has won the Freedom 100.
Side by side. And your new champion, Christian Rasmussen. Series Jack William Miller for Miller Hereditary Motorsports of the number 40 out of Indiana, starting in the 9th position. Row 4 on the outside, another really impressive rookie so far this year from the Cayman Islands for Juncos Racing, Kiffin Simpson in the number 21. He'll start in the 8th position. Inside that row, his Juncos Racing teammate, a winner here at Mid-Ohio last year in USF 2000, Reese Gold from Miami, Florida in the number 55, will start in the 7th spot. Row number 3, both drivers have victories here at Mid-Ohio on the outside from Mexico. In the number 22, Manuel Suleiman. Juncos Racing driver won last year here. The number 22 starting in the 6th position. And starting on the inside from New Albany, Ohio. This is his home track. It's Braden Eves for Exclusive Autosport, a winner last year here in Indy Pro 2000. The number 91 rolling off from P5. Moving out of row number 2, been a strong midseason push for the driver from Kentucky. Jacob Abel in the number 51 starting 4th in the Abel Motorsports machine. P4 outside of row 2 for Abel. And on the inside, driver who will move forward to pole for race number 2 tomorrow, it's Hunter McElray in the number 18 for Pabst Racing. Runner-up in USF 2000 2 years ago. Won the final race of the season last year at St. Petersburg. Was a victor earlier this year at Barbary Motorsports Park. A really strong turnaround right now after a couple of rough races for McElray. He'll start 3rd place today in that black and white Pabst machine. 12 drivers in the field, 2 on the front row, obviously on the outside from St. Petersburg, Russia. Another one of the winners from the 2020 edition here at Mid-Ohio, Artem Petrov for Exclusive Autosport in the number 42. He has been very strong, very quick all weekend long. He'll start in 2nd on the outside of row number 1. His lap time of 1:17.927. But as we roll through the championship battle here, the driver starting on the pole position has won 5 times already this year. He is the point leader, last year's USF 2000 champion, starting on the pole position with a time of 1:17.508. Christian Rasmussen from Denmark in the J. Howard driver development machine. He's got the Road to Indy scholarship colors on the car, and he will start from P1, will set the grid when they work their way onto the front straightaway in just a couple of minutes' time. So it's Rasmussen and Petrov on row 1, McElray and Abel row 2, Eves and Suleiman on row 3, Gold and Simpson on row 4, Miller and Brkacic row 5, and Rowe and Yaney on row number 6. 12 drivers set to go here. 2nd rung of the road to Indy, ready to fire things up for their first of 2 races here this weekend in Mid-Ohio. And it's time to fire up these engines, ladies and gentlemen. Joining me down here on pit lane to give the command, one of our guests from Cooper Tires.
Road to Indy driver, start your engines.
And there you go, folks. Engines coming to life. 12 drivers firing up 250 horsepower behind every one of these drivers. Cooper Tires, Tatis PM18 chassis. John Phippen, almost time to go racing.
Thanks, Rob. Looking forward to it as these drivers have the engines fired up. The crew's stepping away, getting ready for the safety car to leave the pit lane with this 12-car field in tow. Christian Rasmussen looking to extend his points lead over Braden Eves. Those two starting near the front of this race. Abel and Eves and Suleiman, in row number 3. But Rasmussen and Petrov in the front row. So Christian Rasmussen looking to extend his points lead with a victory here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, but that's the reason they run the races. It's a 25-lap or 45-minute race, whichever comes first. We had a couple yellow flags in the USF 2000 race yesterday. We'll expect probably less of that in these slightly more experienced drivers with a little bit smaller field. Rusty, kind of a slow pace coming out of turn one.
Yeah, definitely a slow pace. Christian Rasmussen just about stopped the car around the corner, let the pace car get way out in front of him, and then accelerated hard. May have been trying to get a little heat in the rear tires, but he has caught now the back of the pace car and brought the rest of the field, as almost all the other cars do something similar here, just at the pit exit. They almost stop the car and then jump on the accelerator and spin it up the rear tires to put a little heat in those rear tires. And we'll watch them now as they are weaving the cars back and forth behind the pace car. So we will look for that start this time by. Lights are still on at this point in the pace car, but we will look to see them go off here in just a minute as they will be making their way around track.
Thanks, Tom Michaels. The field coming down into your view as Rob Howden, a breathless Rob Howden, after a sprint up 3 flights of steps, has just joined us. We'll get him around to the start-finish line here, Rob, so you can catch your breath as Tom Michaels has the field in front of him.
Yeah, the front of the field already by us here. Single filing it as they'll wait to get everything lined up once they get over there into Thunder Valley. But a field here, 12 cars on the pole, Christian Rasmussen.
Rich Grunewald, you've got the last of the field coming into your view right now.
Yes, I do, and they are coming down through Thunder Valley, led by the Mazda pace car. These 250 horsepower Tadas chassis machines, getting their tires warm, their engines warm, their fluids warmed for taking the start this time around.
Field beginning to form up 2 by 2. The voice of the Road to Indy, Rob Howden, next to me to call the start.
Thank you, John. Christian Rasmussen, last year's champion, USF 2000, point leader right now, trying to follow the Kyle Kirkwood trail to Indy Lights. Can he get another win here? He'll start on pole, coming out of the final corner on the racetrack. We'll look to go green into the punch-off zone. Field set. Good start. Green, green, green. And they'll race their way down into turn number 1. Artur Petrov slotting right in behind. See how they are through turn number 1 here. Very quick corner. We've seen some issues here before, but drivers clean and green through. We had some trouble in the opening USF 2000 race, but so far, Indy Pro looking pretty good here as they work their way down to the keyhole. Outside goes Petrov, and looked like a mid-corner correction for Rasmussen. Almost got into Petrov, and that's going to put the fight from further back as well. Look at Hunter McElroy. That's Jacob Abel up to P3. Good start, John, for Jacob Abel.
Absolutely, from row number 2 and coming down into the view of Tom Michaels. Tom, how's it looking?
It is side by side as they come through turn number 4. We watch them as they come through that number 1 car.
Driver
Rasmussen.
off. Driver off, guys. Driver off.
Petrov. And we got a car off right in front of us here. That looks to be
It's Kiffin Simpson, the 22, I believe, Tom.
And that car is stuck. It's high-sided, so it cannot move right now. So we're going to have a full course yellow if they can't get that one moved.
Indeed, Tom, driver off the racetrack. We're not seeing that on the screen as of yet, as we're going to come around to complete lap number 1. And indeed, I believe, are they slow it up yet? No, still on the throttle. No, here we go. Now we got the full course yellow here at start finish. Yeah, there's the shot there of Kiffin Simpson in the Hookos racing machine. Almost got it rolling sideways and backwards through the grass, going off the outside of turn number 4. But as Tom had said, high center there, not able to get back onto the racetrack, so we go full course yellow immediately.
Actually, that's Manuel Suleiman.
It is Suleiman.
Yeah. Simpson came by. So
it's tough for Manuel. You think about the fact that he had such a good run with the win at Road America. We're gonna get a chance to see the replay here, guys. We'll have a little look at it, try to dial it in for you. So it was the 22 of Suleiman. Front drivers coming through. Rasmussen super aggressive early. You can see Suleiman got pushed wide by Hunter McElroy. Went too deep into the corner. He pushed wide, got into the side of Suleiman. He goes full 4 wheels off, and there's that backward slide. As I said, he actually gets up over top of the curbing. Surprised he actually kind of didn't get hung up to dry on the curbing. As you can see the top part of the car just getting on the curbing, but able to stay on the throttle. Did his best to try to do it. You can see the rear wheels continue to spin, but
like you said earlier, John, a little bit of dew in the grass, probably still a little damp, and just not able to get the traction you needed to get out of there.
Looks
so close.
Yeah, exactly. So, Tom, is he still mired there, or was he able to get back underway?
Right now, he's trying to get underway. Now he gets it underway. AMR safety crew had to push it around. They had it with the back wheels up off the ground, and for a while he was spinning those wheels, which would not be a good time for them to drop it, and that car just kind of squirt away. But finally they got it working. We've got the rest of the field coming around here, so he's not going to lose a lap. And the safety crew going to get back in position, and we'll be ready for green flag racing.
Jacob Abel making a great start, Rob, up into third spot. Looking challenging for the lead there.
We're going to have another look here, I believe, folks, at the incident we had. A little closer there. We'll try to look back. You can see McElray on the inside, Suleiman on the outside. McElray may have gotten into the curb on the inside of the track and shot wide into Suleiman.
Yeah,
so that was the contact. That was a battle for fourth position. And as I say, very tough for Manuel Suleiman coming off a big win at Road America to kind of get himself back in the championship discussion a little bit, John. He backed it up with a 7th on Sunday, but it was a huge win for him and a couple of pole positions as well. Manuel, luckily, as Tom had said, though, they were able to get him out enough that he did not lose a lap, so he's going to be able to attack from the tail of the field again. Looks like we're going back to racing this time by.
Single file restart.
Indeed, big punch there for Christian Rasmussen. Good start as he's able to get a jump. Same goes for Petrov. He gets that jump over Jacob Abel as well. Jacob was really aggressive there at the start, but on this restart fell him back a little bit. McElroy still holding on to the 4th position. We'll see what Suleiman can do. I don't know whether or not he got back around enough. Did we see Suleiman come back? Yeah, he is not. Yeah, he's way. They didn't give him time to get back around, so Suleiman way back right now. Tough one for him.
Yeah, if there's another yellow, he'll be able to pack up, but unfortunately, he's got a lot of ground to make up.
That's a shame. I thought he might have been able to get back to the tail of the field. We may have a battle here right now for 3rd position. Hunter McElroy going to work here on Jacob Abel. McElroy will start pole position in the race tomorrow. He's going to try the outside. McElroy outside of the corner. You can make it work there side by side through turn number 4. McElroy will have the inside line to turn 5. Textbook outside pass, John.
Yeah, exactly right, because if you can hold it through turn 4, then you've got the inside line coming up the hill. And it's tough. Sometimes we see him go side by side all the way down into turn 6.
And if there's a guy right now that needs a bounce back, it's Hunter McElroy. He comes into the event 76 points behind, running 3rd right now. The driver he's chasing is P1 right now, but he does get to come back tomorrow and start on the pole position. So McElroy potentially looking for that turnaround, that pivot here in the 2021 season.
Top 2 beginning to draw away a little bit as Hunter McElroy is going to have to pedal hard to catch up with Petrov and stay with these leaders.
Right behind Abel is Braden Eves. P5, and I'll update you, John, those of you may have watched qualifying with us. Braden Eves kept popping up and then falling down, popping up and falling down. He had got a penalty, lost his fastest lap because he impeded Christian Rasmussen when he came out on fresh tires. Braden pleaded his case that, there's only so much I can do when the tires are cold like that. I can't go off track, but they end up losing. That's why. So he kept going to pole, kept dropping down. He would have had the 4th spot. He's going to start 8th tomorrow. So deep penalty for Braden Eves, although he's going to work right now on Jacob Abel for P4.
Christian Rasmussen has the fastest lap of the race so far, slightly quicker than Petrov. Suleiman with the 3rd fastest lap, because obviously he's got clear track as he's driving hard to try to catch up. There he is now,
Indeed, just by us. Exactly right, John. They're coming through turn number 5. And Artem Petrov having a pretty good run here now. We're looking to work his way up a little higher, even up here right now. Being told that the number 91 of Braden Eves getting a blocking warning. The Eves trying to hold off at that point, likely Reese Gold. Yeah, indeed, Gold just behind him. In fact, it looks to me like Abel stretched away a little bit from Eves, so that challenge we had potentially for 4th position is softened up a little bit. Eves now having to worry about young Reese Gold and 6 behind him and his teammate Kiffin Simpson, so we'll see whether or not Eves can dial things back in as they work their way back onto the front straightaway. Yeah, you can see the gap has grown in a big way. In fact, we'll look at some lap times. Abel might even be looking like he's ready to challenge and try to get back up here on Hunter McElroy, but enough said there. Top times, if you look at the times here right now, 1:19.7 for Rasmussen and Petrov. John, they're pulling away 3 or 4 tenths of a second faster than those behind them.
Yeah, Abel with the 4th fastest lap, a 1:20.1. James Rowe got around Wyatt Bukacek on that last lap to move up into 8th spot, and Jack William Miller got around Hunter Yaney to take over 10th right now.
So you can see them going by you right there, and we'll see if Rowe's got some enough speed to potentially reel in Kiffin Simpson, who runs in that 7th spot. Good fight for the back. You see the side-by-side. That's actually Prokacek trying to go back around James Rowe Jr. Look at them side-by-side almost. Rowe aggressive on the exit, kind of took over the apex and drove it out to the outside of the track. And Prokacek wise to get out of the throttle there.
James Rowe leads them out of turn 7 up to turn number 8. They're through the leaders through turn number 9 right now as they work their way down the hill, across the stripe into turn number 10, up to the blind turn 11. And those three, that's probably the best battle on the racetrack right now, with Rowe, Prokacek, and Miller.
Yeah, I want to keep watching the gap here between first and second as well, because we'll look at lap times as they come back across. But 1:19.7 for both drivers, now 1:19.2. So the heat building into these Cooper tires, and they are so evenly matched right now. Artem Petrov right there, not that far back, 0.7 of a second behind Christian Rasmussen, who's looking to get win number 18 in his Road to Indy career. 5 wins so far, coming in with 12 victories from his USF 2000, 2 years, 3 wins in the first year, 9 wins last year to win that championship. Already 5 wins this season. He could put number 18 in the books here today if he's able to hold off Petrov. But then you look at the championship battle as well. Petrov 4th position right now, 64 points back. He needs to get this race win to kind of shrink that up a little bit on Rasmussen.
Exactly right. Braden Eves, the man who's chasing Rasmussen for the points championship, two points back from where he started this race. It was a 32-point margin at the beginning. Now, as they run, it's a 34-point margin, as Braden Eves back in the 5th spot. He's about a 1.5 seconds behind Jacob Abel, so not really in touch to move forward at the moment.
It was actually pretty big. It's 18 points to 34 points. That's a pretty significant jump. Obviously, he's back in 5th, as you said. But I'll tell you this right now. You and I mentioned it yesterday. 34 points, that's more than a full race's points. Exactly. The most rate points you can get in a race is 33 points. 30 for the win, 1 for pole, 1 for most laps led, 1 for fastest lap of the race. 33 points on offer in any one of the races. Rasmussen, as they run, a full race in hand. That's got to give it. That's a lot of breathing room for a driver like Rasmussen, who knows how he can handle and manage a race distance.
No other changes in position as we're following a couple pretty good battles. Braden Eves currently in the 5th spot with Reese Gold and Kiffin Simpson closing up. Simpson only about 0.3 behind Reese Gold, and then a little further back, about a 2nd and a 10th, is James Rowe, and he's got Prokacek and Jack William Miller all over him. So pretty good battles there in the second half of the field.
Yeah, good for James Rowe, running currently in the 8th position. Put down a good lap there of a 1:19.5, 0.3 quicker than Prokacek. So he's built himself a little bit of breathing room, allow him to kind of focus forward instead of focus backwards. So Rowe can keep looking forward to see if he's quicker than Simpson. Last time by, 0.4 faster, James Rowe Jr. than Kiffin Simpson. We may see a fight for 7th place here pretty soon, as Rowe, who currently sits 11th in points, looking to try to see if he can't jump himself up into the top 10. Kiffin Simpson currently in the points at 8th position, 140, Rowe 104, so it'll be an opportunity for him to potentially work his way into the top 10.
Rasmussen and Petrov running almost identical lap times. The gap between them about 0.75 of a second. So Rasmussen in control of the pace right now, but Petrov not letting him get away. On that last lap, they had virtually identical lap times. So again, the interval stays right at 0.7 of a second.
You know what a difference a year makes, John? You look back at 2020 when we were here through our COVID schedule. Didn't get the season started until first week of July at Road America. We came here as a standalone event. I remember how weird it was being here as a standalone event. You and I were announcing from across there. We weren't even allowed to be up at the tower. You and I were by ourselves over in race control. What was race control? We announced the race. We're all excited. It's been a fantastic race. Then you walk outside, and there's nobody here. There's no fans. It was dead quiet. It was so eerie, almost surreal. But what a difference a year makes for a guy like Hunter McElroy. The event coming into Mid-Ohio last year in USF 2000, Christian Rasmussen struggled. Had a great start to the season. 2 DNFs essentially, just horrible finishes. Comes here to Mid-Ohio, a track he likes. Hey, you know what? I've won here before. I'm going to be able to turn this around. Starts from pole in USF 2000, opening lap on cold tires. He drives off in the carousel in turn number 12. No, coming into the event, he wins at Road America, comes here, and is already looking great. Could get a victory here. Just such a different approach to the event based on what happened the week before.
You talked about Jacob Abel having a good weekend. He is right on the gearbox of Hunter McElroy, trying to get that 3rd spot back.
Yeah, look at the lap time last time by. He's been catching up maybe a 1/10 of a second here, 1/10 of a second there. Drivers coming out about maybe now 3 car lengths. I like the battle between the 55 of Reese Gold and his teammate Kiffin Simpson, the 21. That's a pretty good fight right now. Kiffin's been a bit quicker. Then you look behind, James Rowe, another 1/10 of a second fast. He was a 1/10 quicker than Simpson, 3/10 quicker than Gold. That could be a full fight for 6th, 7th, and 8th, to be honest, before we're all said and done. We still have a lot of laps left in this race.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've got 17 to go. And so far, no other chance for a full course yellow to slow it down. So we should get all the laps in. There is a 45-minute time limit on this one.
Yeah, I think, unless we go yellow. I don't see a yellow happening here the way these drivers are. They're kind of spaced out a bit. There's that gap further back. You see Simpson had a little look to the inside. Yep. Not an aggressive move, not a passing opportunity or overtake. Just trying to fill the mirrors. Both those drivers just 16 years of age. Reese Gold and Kiffin Simpson. Just old enough to get the learner's permit now, which blows me away every time we go racing here.
Yeah, they can actually drive themselves to the racetrack.
That's exactly right. They couldn't for the last couple of years, though. That's what's wild about it. Reese Gold, a young driver who has matured through USF 2000, a couple of years there with Cape Motorsports, able to get a victory last year to get that first Road to Indy win. He's going to have himself a challenge before this is all said and done from his teammate Kiffin Simpson. I want to throw James Rowe Jr. in there as well. He is up on the wheel. Let's look at lap times again between those drivers. You see them rocking across the start-finish line here. Gold 119.5, Simpson 119.6, Rowe 119.5. So no change between 6th, 7th, and 8th. All those drivers pretty similar, and that's one of the things we might see from Rowe. He may be able to close up and get close, but once he does, that's when you start dealing with the aero wash. You lose that air off the front wing, and making the pass once you get there is tough, but Rowe continues to put his head down. The gap also, John, expanding a bit up front. Rasmussen and Petrov first and second now, almost a full second as Rasmussen again about a 10th quicker. It seems like he's a 10th quicker lap right now.
Yeah, Rowe closing in on the back of Simpson, as we talked about. Bringing Brikacek with him. He's only half a second further back in that 9th spot. But Jack William Miller beginning to lose touch with that battle in front, as he's about a second back of Brikacek now in that 10th spot. Hunter Yaney running a distant 11th. And, of course, Manuel Suleiman just hoping for a yellow.
That's
so
right.
He can back up to the back.
Let me get back in it. The funny thing, you look kind of up front here, I always look at kind of the different drivers in the field, where they are in their career path, too. You look at the guys at the top of the points, Rasmussen, Eves, Gold, Petrov, and McElroy. 4 of those drivers of the 5 I would expect are looking to Indy Lights next year, and that's Rasmussen, Eves, Petrov, and McElroy. I don't think Reese Gold is quite old enough yet to be able to go. He may be able to go Indy Lights. I'd like to see him come back for one more year of Indy Pro. I think that would be the best thing for him. He'd be a championship contender out of the gate, could win the scholarship, could score some victories, but 4 of the top 5, maybe even 5 of the top 5, thinking about potentially going to Indy Lights next year. That means that the guys that are at the back right now that are learning earlier, like Jack William Miller, Wyatt Prokopchik, Hunter Yaney, those could be the guys that we see up front next year when the graduating class comes in for USF 2000. They've got they'll have that full year driving this powerful, our second-tier series, the PM18 machine. And again, new chassis next year as well, which makes things a little bit interesting. We're going to add the Halo-type device to both USF 2000 and Indy Pro.
Are they staying with the Tatus, or are they going to go to?
Yeah, it's a Tatus as well. Yeah, so it's an update kit. So the team's just buying the update, so they can use all the other parts. Will bolt onto the new tub itself.
Awesome.
Yeah, another level of safety. One of the great things about the Road to Indy, we tout it all the time. We run with IndyCar, so when the drivers are here racing, when they're in competition, and obviously racing is dangerous, we all know that, but we've got the IndyCar AMR safety team.
Best in the business.
Which is for our families, for our parents, they can be rest assured if anything did happen, the AMR safety team is there, and they are, like you said, the absolute best in the business, and it really is a calling point for the Road to Indy. And then now we add in the Halos for all 3 series, just trying to raise the level up another notch for everything that we do with the Road to Indy. Shout out to Dan Anderson and Michelle Kish who run this series. They do such a tremendous job of it, and that's why you see this series growing and growing. 28 cars this weekend in USF 2000.
Yeah.
1.3 seconds now the lead for Rasmussen, laying down a smoking lap of 118.4. It's at 1 rather. It's not like Petrov is slow though, because he's a half second quicker than everybody else, but he's just not as quick as Rasmussen, who's looking very good here, stretching out to a 1.3 second lead. Again, the battle we're keying on. You see further back here. There it is there. I like this battle further back as well. And I think that Gold and Simpson are starting to close up a little bit here on Eves. Not by much, but just maybe a 1/10 of a second here and there. They are 0.8 of a second back when they were 1.2, 1.3 a couple laps ago.
Yeah, Simpson really close on his teammate now with about 0.4 of a second separating those two. Of course, the cardinal rule, don't take out your teammate. So hopefully he won't do anything foolish and knock Reese Gold off the track. But
yeah, I have to believe that Ricardo Juncos is on the radio just reminding of that. Hey, Kiffin, see the car in front of it? Very similar livery to yours.
Yeah.
Take care of them.
Exactly right.
But again, within the team,
hey,
these guys are all paying to come race. You
exactly
know? The bottom line is this: I'm here to race. Yeah,
Yep.
I won't take my teammate out. You give him a little extra room, maybe, but you can make the overtake. You make the overtake. And I'm really excited about Kiffin Simpson. I think we're going to see a lot of good things out of him in the next couple of years. He's a talent. I've had a chance to watch him come through karting. Won a lot of races in karting as well, and to see him now running with us in the Indy Pro category, this guy's a championship contender next year for sure, 100%.
He's leading the Formula Regional Americas Championship right now.
There you go.
You know,
Yeah.
5 wins out of 6 races.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to be strong, no question.
Kiffin Simpson from the Cayman Islands running for Juncos Racing. Lead now 1.5 seconds for Christian Rasmussen. This would be win number 6 on the season and win number 18 in his Road to Indy career, only 7 behind Kyle Kirkwood, but I think Kirkwood's going to try to keep that rolling for himself as well. He's going to start on pole for the race this afternoon. So.
Yeah. He'll start second for the race tomorrow.
Right,
so.
yeah, Andretti is strong here this weekend.
Yeah, Daniel Frost getting his pole, and great to hear for the Singaporean. But Braden Eves, 34 points back of Rasmussen as they run. Reese Gold, though, only 20 points behind Braden Eves, so that's a bit of an improvement for him. As Petrov in the 4th as they run. Hunter McElroy would round out the top 5 as they run right now.
Really interesting, too, John. I look at Indy Lights and all the momentum we have for Indy Lights right now. There's a lot of great announcements coming out pretty soon. 13 cars on the grid this year, a potential for 14 or 15 later in the season. We've got a couple of drivers that are talking about getting a couple of races in. You think about the drivers coming up from Indy Pro, our own internal ladder system. We got drivers in Europe that are looking to come over to Indy Lights as well. I'm thinking 16 to 18 cars next year. A new team's going to be announced in the next month or so, and a couple other potentially new teams coming into the program. So a lot of excitement there. I had a chance actually just to talk. You saw that Jourdain is here. Right. They announced their new program, Andretti-Jourdain Autosport. So they're going to be working together essentially to help bring some young Mexican drivers into the NTT IndyCar Series. Jourdain, Michelle has a team that runs the Super Copa Series down in Mexico. Well, they have a young driver running the Super Copa Series who's actually going to be here testing on Tuesday in Andretti's Indy Lights car. That's Salvador de Alba Jr., and I've watched Salvador many years as a karter. He's been running in the Super Copa Series. And listen, there's a lot of excitement for motorsports at IndyCar in Mexico. You, of course, got Sergio Perez. We got Pato Award. There's a lot of great young Mexican drivers. Manuel Suleiman is one. But we're going to very likely see Salvador de Alba next year in an Andretti Indy Lights car, which I love. We love the fact we have an international field.
Yeah, absolutely. The best battle on the racetrack, still the one between the teammates, Reese Gold and Kiffin Simpson. About 0.4 of a second. Gold able to stretch that out just a couple tenths on this last lap as they come across the line. We'll look at the interval. Yeah, still about 0.3 of a second. That's the closest battle right now, as everybody else kind of driving away from each other.
Yep.
Jacob Abel falling off the pace of Hunter McElroy just a touch on the last couple of laps. He's almost a full second behind McElroy now in the battle for the final podium.
And John, look at this. Eves and Gold. Remember, that was down to what, 0.8 of a second. It's back to 1.2 again. So Eves putting into a couple of really good laps. Past the halfway point, folks. 14 laps down, 11 to go. One of the battles back there still going to be waged. Jack William Miller in the red number 40. Wyatt Prokopchik there in the black, blue, and white red at number 5 for Jay Howard Driver Development. Right there into turn number 4. That's the scrap coming in there. Hunter Yaney behind them. That's the fight we're picking up here. Jack William Miller up over to turn number 5. Prokopchik pushing on him still. Miller able to get up another spot. Jack William Miller coming in, sitting in 12th in points. As I said, not able to start the second race at Road America after a nasty barrel roll coming out of turn number 3. Rasmussen tried to go to the outside, an ill-fated move to the outside of Reese Gold, touched wheels, got sideways, and nowhere to go. Jack William Miller up over top of him. Rasmussen across the racetrack, and literally, if you saw the in-car, then it was Prokopchik going over top of him, 2 drivers over top of him, but he's able to come back. Rasmussen was on Sunday. Get that mental fortitude, stay focused, and came back for another race win, benefiting from a mid-race caution.
Looking at the points as they run right now, James Rowe and Wyatt Prokopchik has swapped places. Rowe up into 9th, Prokopchik back to 10th. That's pretty much the only changes we've seen in the point standings based on this the way they're running in this race right now. intervals have changed a bit, but that's the only difference that I've been able to see.
And Rasmussen looking right now to get all 33 points. Started on the pole position, has led the most laps, obviously. We've got 15 now in, just 10 to go. Looking for the race win. Does have the fast lap of the race right now at 118.236 to Petrov's 118.259. But the one cool thing about our Cooper tires, which are so consistent through the run, there's enough grip at the end of the run to take advantage of the low fuel load as well. So normally we see the fast lap of the race coming very late in the race. So let's not give Rasmussen that fast lap yet. Although for the way he's been running, it's a good possibility he'll get it done.
On this last lap, though, Jack William Miller did not have a good lap, 122 and some change, and that's allowed Bukacek to get right back on his gearbox. So keep an eye on that one. We might have a change for 9th position.
1.7 second to lead now. You see the drivers coming out of the final corner on the racetrack through turn 12 carousel through 13. The left-hander that leads onto the front straightaway. Short front straightaway here into turn number 1. But an unbelievably quick corner. That's one of the ones where drivers really have to test their mettle early, John, when they get here, right? They're told how fast you should be able to go through turn number 1, but you have to convince yourself the car's actually going to stick when you go that quickly. It's not easy.
When I talked to Ernie Francis, climbing out of his car after his first win, he said that was the hardest thing as he made the transition from tin tops into the open wheel car. It was to trust the downforce, to realize just how stuck to the ground the car is. And it took him a long time because, he spent a long time in a car with a lot of mechanical grip, a lot of horsepower. Now he's in a car that's much lighter, much higher corner speeds, and he's got to think, this can't possibly stick when I turn the wheel, but it does.
I talked to Ernie a little bit. We were DMing on Instagram about that, about going back and forth from the Trans Am car to the FRA car. And I said, man, on a weekend like that, how tough was that going back and forth? And he literally said, like yourself, he had to just tell himself to trust the downforce in the car. And that's what every one of these drivers in Indy Pro does, especially when they get into the car for the first time and they feel how much downforce there is. Man, I could have that much corner speed, and here's the data. It will work. Yep. You just got to do it and trust it.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then again, the step up to Indy Lights, exactly the same thing. More of everything. Almost double the horsepower. Obviously, more braking, more grip, more downforce, more of everything as you work your way up. And I think you talked about the difference, 6 seconds or so between Indy Pro 2000 and Indy Lights. That's how much quicker these cars are. So 17 laps down, 8 remain here in the Cooper Tires Indy Pro 2000 GP of Mid-Ohio. First of 2 races for drivers here on the second rung of the road to Indy. And John, let's take the opportunity now to talk about what they're racing for. That's the key. Over $700,000 to scholarship to go to the Indy Lights or Indy Pro champion to move to Indy Lights. For some young drivers, really it's the only chance for them to continue on. They just simply don't have the financial wherewithal to do it. But you get that scholarship, you bring those colors, you win the championship, and people in the IndyCar paddock take notice. No doubt about that.
Absolutely. We got a special promo going on today. We'd like to give a big welcome to the Tech Corps and the Robot Academy, who are guests of the High Tide Kids on Track program. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Kids on Track is dedicated to lifting the spirits and inspiring the dreams of children throughout the country by providing unique access to all race events on the road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires this year. You can learn more at hightide.com.
Yeah, great program that we have as part of the road to Indy. One other thing we'll be doing today as well, if you go over the bridge and turn number 1, just on this side by the medical side by the new Cooper Tire Pavilion, the Cooper Tire stage is set up there, and I'm going to have both Christian Rasmussen and Braden Eves joining me there at 20 after 1 today. We'll do a special Q&A. Feel free to come by and talk to the drivers, meet them if you want, sign some autographs, and if you have any questions for our drivers, we'll be happy to bring them into the Q&A, but we'll have a chance to talk to those drivers about their experiences. Maybe ask them where they go to eat around here. We have to keep it light. A little bit of race, a little bit of fun.
Exactly. Rusty and I had dinner last night, and Robbie Gordon and his whole crew were up there having dinner at the same restaurant we were at. So.
We did the same thing, not last night, but on Thursday night, went to the local Mexican place off the highway where we stay. Yep. Fantastic Mexican restaurant. As we're sitting there, you look over, and it's Max Chilton, Scott Dixon, and Marcus Ericsson. We're in good company here this evening.
What?
As well.
No Taco Bell?
Now that's solid. No Taco Bell for Scott at this particular place. El Chorrito's a fantastic place. We love it. We go there every year. Rasmussen 1.5 seconds to lead as Petrov continues to stay close. Only about a tenth of a second off. A really strong run here for Artem Petrov, but just no chance at this point to closing up here on Rasmussen. And again, they come across the start-finish. You can see drivers coming and working their way out of Thunder Valley, down out of turn number 9 through turn 10 and back up over the rise of turn 11. Blind left-hander leading into turn 12, the carousel. Challenging part of this racetrack. Now that's interesting. I talked to Daniel Frost a little bit on IndyCar Radio, John, after his qualifying on the pole for Indy Lights, and said he was really, really proud of that lap. And we were talking essentially about I said, where is it that you have to get good speed here? And it was just trying to carry some of the speed through the carousel and then through turn number 2. Really getting the car to rotate through 2. The earlier you can get down on that throttle and roll it, the longer that straightaway is going to be. I would say you don't make a straightaway longer by going deeper into the braking zone. You make a straightaway longer by rolling on the throttle early, getting off the brake in the previous corner and getting on the throttle earlier. That lengthens the straightaway. And with these cars, especially Indy Pro 2000, I was in Greg DeGeorge's Symmetric Driver Lab sim at Road America, and the initial brake hit is really, really aggressive. Then you trail off as you get to the exit. But to be able, you got to have a strong pressure on the brake. And I couldn't get used to it because he kept telling me more. You need more brake, and that's what these drivers have to learn. Braking is one of the really key points. Braking, and then being able to roll off the brake to let that corner speed roll through the apex.
That's something the added downforce gives you. Not only corner speed, but much better braking as well.
5 laps remaining as they come across the line. Christian Rasmussen and Artem Petrov roll through. A huge gap back to Hunter McElroy, P3, and I'll tell you, that'll be great for Hunter. He has not been on the podium since the first day of action at St. Petersburg back in April, John. So this will be a big thing for both Hunter and Pabst Racing as they try to get things rolling again with their Indy Pro 2000 program. Single car effort right now mid-season. Colin Kaminsky shutting down his program early, did the first couple of races, but has elected not to complete the season. So Hunter all by himself, and that's tough, man. You only have that one stream of data. We've talked about that quite a bit throughout this weekend. When you don't have those 2 drivers that you look at the data, hey, listen, he's going this quick through this corner. This guy's on the brakes a bit earlier. When you're by yourself, man, you just got to trust in the driver, trust in the engineering.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, watching Jacob Abel as well, his last lap about 3/10 quicker than Hunter McElroy. So Jacob may be mounting a late race challenge here to see if he can spoil McElroy's party on that podium.
And we just right there through turn 5 saw the fact that Reese Gold closing up as well on Braden Eves again, back down to 0.7 of a second. Remember, it was 0.8. He got it back up to 1.2, back down to 0.8 of a second. So Reese Gold looking to see if he can't put some pressure on the Ohio driver Braden Eves late in the race, as we have just 5 laps remaining. So we could have ourselves some battle. We'll watch them as they come across the straightaway. Great shot there. If you're looking online, John and I are in the 3rd floor, right below the sea of Cooper Tires.
We'll wave at the camera.
What is the official? Is this the Cooper Tire Media Center?
Yeah, Press Tower.
Press Tower.
Yeah.
Cooper Tires, of course, lots of signage. The spiritual home of Cooper Tire, located in nearby Findlay, Ohio. But there's the shot of the drivers working their way on the front straightaway out of the carousel through 13. Abel now just a half a second behind McElroy, quicker by about a tenth last time by. Eves a 1:19.1, Gold 1:19.1, Simpson 1:18.9. Simpson cutting a couple tenths of a second out there as well.
Yeah, he's beginning to put some pressure on Reese Gold. So Reese, with his eyes forward, trying to run down Braden Eves, got to keep his eyes on the mirrors too. His teammates coming.
And look at this, James Rowe Jr. quicker than everybody in front of him. Eves, Gold, and Simpson for Rowe, although back by about a second right now. But he was 2 or 3 tenths of a second quicker. As you can see him closing in on the tail here as they work their way through 4. So that's the battle right there for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. James Rowe trying to get back up into the fight. The 2 Juncos drivers, though, the 16-year-olds Gold and Simpson, trying to go to work on the 2019 USF 2000 champion.
3 laps to go as they come across the stripe this time. 30 minutes into this race.
Here's that battle for 5th, cresting over turn number 9. And I always love this camera shot because you can literally see how the car gets so light coming over top there. Yep. And you have to use all that rumble strip on the outside to use it, and it's precarious for sure.
Exactly right.
So just a couple laps to go, and we'll go back in a bit to Christian Rasmussen, still watching this potential fight for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. But Rasmussen now out to a 1.5 second lead, has gone out there and kind of held it. Best lap time of 1:18.1, turning 1:18.5s now. Petrov about 2 tenths quicker last time by, but too little too late with just 3 laps remaining. You always want to put the pressure on, John. That's the thing. If you can keep the pressure on, you maybe get the driver in front of you to make a mistake. That's obviously one of the ways, but Rasmussen was able to get himself a pretty nice little cushion that he's just not going to make that error.
Yeah, and I like to say that when he's got that, second and a half kind of cushion, he can control the pace. And radios gets word from his crew, hey, Petrov's beginning to close in. He can turn it up a notch if he has to.
Hold on, being told that Jacob Abel's gone by. Where's Hunt? There could be an issue here with Hunter McElroy. Jacob Abel went by McElroy to go to P3 on the back straightaway in turn number 4. We didn't have cameras on it, so Abel's now into 3rd. But McElroy fell way back. I don't know if he dropped a wheel or what happened. Tom Michaels, you were there. Did he end up going off, or what happened?
Yeah, he went off. They were side by side, and as it turned off, McElroy just wound up getting off into the grass, was able to keep it going, but he lost the position.
Wow, okay, there you go. So Abel, we talked about him pushing on McElroy, pushing into a mistake, making the overtake, and then you know it, John, somebody's on the inside of you there. You do whatever you can to hold on to the outside because you know the outside becomes the inside for turn 5.
Exactly right.
Man.
And so obviously Abel, we saw him closing, so obviously he was able to get alongside there at turn 4, realizing that he's running out of laps here, and so he's potentially got himself on the podium.
I'm telling you right now, Christian Rasmussen, obviously super impressive, right? We only got a couple laps to go. This guy's looking to get his 6th win of the season here right now, putting in. But Jacob Abel has been this mid-season phenom here right now. He's coming off results of 6th on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway, podium 3rd at Road America, 5th in the backup race. Another podium here for Jacob Abel. Look where he is. He's moved himself up to 7th in the points. He's only 7 points behind Manuel Suleiman. So Jacob Abel, that team really starting to step things up.
And it's another single car team. So,
Indeed, yeah. And they were looking to try to they almost had a second driver at the start of the season. He was not able to put it together. But a tremendous run here for Jacob Abel as he's gone to P3, an aggressive move. I wish I could see it. I'm sure some in-car camera will come out on social media later to see the pass. But otherwise, white flag being displayed from Aaron Likens at start-finish to our leader, Christian Rasmussen. Looking to get his, as I said, 6th win. Victories at St. Petersburg, 2 at Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Raceway on the oval, Road America last weekend. This would be his 6th win of the season, 18th win of his young Road to Indy career, only his 3rd year in the series. And Christian Rasmussen working his way now down the back straightaway out of turn number 2. Down through the kink 3 to turn number 4. Artem Petrov, all he can do is continue to push. He's been chipping away at a 1/10 of a second a lap, getting it down to 1.3, but just not quite enough. Artem Petrov still with a good run. He's moved himself. He's in 4th position, closing up on Reese Gold. Only 10 points behind. Gold was 20 points behind coming in, so Artem looking to get himself potentially up into the top 3 and still want to challenge for the championship. But this day has been all about Christian Rasmussen. What do we got for fast lap? Oh, Artem Petrov has stole the fast lap away, 118.35. Yeah, so Petrov with the fast lap bonus as well.
Actually, we're showing Rasmussen at a 118.1 at some
point.
Oh, I'm
sorry, right here. Yep, indeed. So he does still have it.
Yep.
Well, we're not done yet. Let's see if they can put a good lap time down. But again, out of the final couple of corners, folks, what a way to continue this impressive season. Winner today in round number 1. For Indy Pro 2000 at Mid-Ohio, Christian Rasmussen with the victory. Margin at the line, less than a second, kind of slowed up a little bit, I think, probably on the last couple corners, get through cleanly. Ends up with the win over Artem Petrov. Jacob Abel, a late race pass on Hunter McElroy. That moves him up into the 3rd position on the podium in 3rd. 4th spot, Hunter McElroy, as we said. Braden Eves, John, he was chased all race long by Reese Gold, but Braden Eves somehow able to come out with that 5th place finish. He's not going to be happy about it, but the bottom line is he was able to get the job done.
Reese Gold and Kiffin Simpson right behind him. James Rowe made a race of it. It was a 4-car battle as they crossed the line. Rowe coming home in that 8th spot.
34-point lead now for Christian Rasmussen, and as John said, fast lap of the race, 118.105, coming on lap number 15. Petrov's late in the race, lap number 18, within about a 1/10 of a second, so very, very quick for Petrov as well. You know what, with Hunter McElroy starting on pole tomorrow, Petrov is right there as well. I think Artem's got a shot at the win. I think McElroy's got the shot at the win. It won't be as easy a day, let's put it that way, for Rasmussen. Here is your unofficial results of our first of 2 races for Indy Pro 2000. Christian Rasmussen with the victory in the number 1 machine, trying to back up that championship at USF 2000 last year. Artem Petrov in 2nd, Jacob Abel 3rd. That's your podium. Hunter McElroy had the podium spot till late in the run when Abel made that move. McElroy P4 starting on pole tomorrow. Braden Eves P5, Reese Gold 6th, Kiffin Simpson 7th, James Rowe Jr. 8th, Jack William Miller 9th, Wyatt Brakacic in 10th, and Hunter Yaney and Manuel Suleiman round out the 12 drivers. Of course, Manuel, who got unceremoniously turfed off the racetrack over in turn number 4, got back on, just wasn't able to get back to the tail of the field. I think he would have been able to pass some cars, but just no opportunity, John.
Yeah, that's sad. He turned a pretty quick lap in the way. His best lap at 118.5, right in the thick of it. As the Jack William Miller had the most overtakes, passing 4 drivers on his way to a 9th place finish.
Yeah, and Miller get a little closer in the points there, but again, 34-point lead for Rasmussen over Eves. Reese Gold back by 20, and Petrov just 10 points behind Reese Gold for 3rd as well. Pretty good run, and as the drivers roll themselves in here, I'm going to head to Tata's Victory Lane.
Podium ceremony's coming up next. Rob Howden will be hosting, and then we'll have just a little bit of a break before we bring out the NTT Indy cars for qualifying. As our winner, Christian Rasmussen, rolls to a stop here in Tatis Victory Lane, taking the steering wheel off. As Rasmussen is notching his 6th win on the season, working his way out of the cockpit and celebrating for the photographers. Great job for Christian Rasmussen. Getting congratulations from his Jay Howard crew. There's Jay Howard himself giving him a big hug.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
Sports. Nicely done for Jacob, that late race pass, getting it done. Finishing in second today, another driver of the championship battle. Oh, let's bring the trophy up first, pardon me. Come on in there, young man. We got our guest from Cooper Tires as part of the action. Our first event of 2021, we're actually having our trophy presentations again. Good to have our Cooper Tire guest joining us. Thank you so much, Jacob Babel. Finishing in second, like I said, this driver working his way up to the championship fight as well. Always good here at Mid-Ohio, finishing in second place for Exclusive Autosport. Put your hands together for Artem Petrov. P2 for Artem. Another one of our trophy presenters bringing that second place trophy in. Artem, of course, a winner here last year. Has already won earlier this year as well. More victories in the future for Artem Petrov, the driver from St. Petersburg, Russia. Tremendous run here today. One more spot on the podium. This is impressive. The 6th win of the season, now the 18th win of his career here in the road to Indy. He's going to start challenging for the all-time win number that Kyle Kirkwood currently owns, but stretching out the point lead as well. Perfect day, 33 points for J. Howard Driver Development, our winner in Indy Pro 2000, Christian Rasmussen. Come and join me here first, Christian. Let's talk about this. Obviously, crucial for you anytime you get wins like this, especially mid-season is important, but 6 wins now. You got a lot of momentum going. The championship, of course, looking out in front of you. Tell me about the race. Was it pretty easy? You were able to get out front?
Yeah, the first lap was a little sketchy there. I didn't do a great turn 2, so I let Artem and Abel was there as well. So, but managed to hold them off, and once we got the second restart, I got away pretty well and just had a little gap. And from there on, we know how hard it is to pass around here. So it was just kind of managing from there. So
congratulations, well done.
Thank you,
Christian Rasmussen. We'll let him get up on top of the podium. We'll bring that first place trophy up. And as he said, tough to pass here at Mid-Ohio. Christian will not be a front row starter tomorrow as Hunter McElroy with the pole earlier today. Yeah, hop up right there with him. There we go. There we go. Christian Rasmussen's got a lot of those Road to Indy trophies on the shelf back home for sure. The tremendous young driver from Denmark. And folks, there we go. Let's get these trophies. We'll get them up in the air in a couple seconds here. Yeah. There's my top 3, folks. Jacob Abel back on the podium for Abel Motorsports. Artem Petrov, another run here to the podium as well. And Christian Rasmussen, his 6th win of the season. Point lead now 34 points over Braden Eves. Christian asking to move the car back so no champagne gets on it. That's a solid move. Taking care of his crew. Doesn't want to have the seat filled with champagne. Another race still to come for all 3 of our Road to Indy teams, drivers, and series tomorrow. They'll go through the entire program early tomorrow morning. USF 2000, then Indy Pro, then Indy Lights. You'll get a full shot of the entire Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. Great to have our guests from Cooper Tires joining us here this weekend. We've got a bunch of families as well in the High Tide Kids on Track program. Get a chance to come out here and meet these talented drivers, get them in the paddock. Champagne about to fly when we finish off a couple of photos here, just getting things all wrapped up. And again, Christian Rasmussen, what a tremendous job for him as he's able to get victory number 6, 18 victories for Christian Rasmussen over the last 3 years. His debut year in USF 2000, 3 wins. Last year in 2020, 9 wins en route to the championship in USF 2000. And then, of course, 6 wins already here. Trying to follow in the footsteps of Kyle Kirkwood, who won in the USF 2000 championship, took the scholarship money with RP Motorsports and ended up winning in Indy Pro 2000 the next year. And now, of course, running in Indy Lights here in 2021. That's what Christian Rasmussen is trying to do, fast track his way all the way through and maybe find his way one day into a seat of an NTT IndyCar Series machine. So wrapping up everything with the kids on track, folks. Almost time to drop those trophies and grab the champagne. Boys, get at it. Champagne to fly. The celebration here, pit lane. Oh, Artem's actually going at it. And by the way, Christian Rasmussen, folks, just turned 21 years of age, too, so I think he's enjoying the fact that he gets to sip that champagne. So that's awesome. Once again, folks, one more time, round of applause for my top 3 here again. Christian Rasmussen, Artem Petrov, and Jacob Abel. John Phippen, back to you.
TopCon. We know a thing or two about a smooth surface. Roads and highways, piece of cake. Airports, let's just say it'll be the smoothest landing you've ever had. But what about when you want to go fast? Real fast? No, faster. We've helped cars go faster than they've ever gone before. Broken a few lap records along the way. Want the best paving performance? Go to the source. TopCon, always one step ahead.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you.
Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
We know a thing or two about a smooth surface. Roads and highways, piece of cake. Airports, let's just say it'll be the smoothest landing you've ever had. But what about when you want to go fast? Real fast? No, faster. We've helped cars go faster than they've ever gone before. Broken a few lap records along the way. Want the best paving performance? Go to the source. Topcon, always one step ahead.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you.
Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Road to Indy TV Live. I am here with Race 1 Indy Pro 2000 winner, Christian Rasmussen. Dominant race. Pole, fastest lap, the lead. You played it humble. You're like, oh, that start wasn't great. I mean, it looked pretty dominant from my end. So take me through it.
Yeah, no, I think just the first lap was just about getting through. We know, everyone know that it's very hard to pass around here with the shorter straights, and once you get away in the start, from there on it's just a little bit of a cruise, to be honest.
It was, yeah, it seemed like a little bit of a cruise.
Yeah.
Managing those Cooper tires at all? I mean, the track's a lot different. Obviously, IndyCars now went down. They've laid their rubber down from yesterday to today. Did you have to adapt much?
No, not that much. I mean, it just, as long as you're on the line, then you're fine, right? So as long as you keep hitting your apexes, and yeah, it's just about, I mean, yeah, you're talking about managing your tires a little bit. I mean, we knew that we didn't have to push that hard to stay in front. I mean, you can even be slower than the guy like behind you, and you'll still, I mean, you can still pull off a win. So it was just about managing everything, and I think we did that well today.
So for the fans at home, I'm going to take you through what Christian just meant there by normally you have to be the fastest guy to win the race, but in Indy Pro 2000,
and we were today.
And you were today, so he's not taking anything away from that. But with these aero cars being so dependent, and Mid-Ohio is one of those tracks where you look at, turn 1, you look at turn 11, they're very aero-dependent corners. Yeah. If you're behind somebody, you're probably not going as fast as them.
Exactly.
So that's, I think, what Christian was referring to is that aero wash.
Aero wash.
But there was no aero wash today because it was just, you were gone.
No, I was in clean air. It was great. I mean, I don't know. I think Artem came back a little bit towards the end, but it was really no real threat. I mean, it's so hard to pass here, so I've said that a couple of times now, but I think you guys get the point.
Yeah, you do. It's got to feel good. Last year, USF 2000, Mid-Ohio wasn't, you won here, but it wasn't your cleanest event.
No, it was kind of that part of that mid-season, I don't know, it just wasn't great. Did some dumb mistakes, and I think I came out of the weekend learning from it, and I think that's what benefited me for the rest of the USF 2000 season, and also this year. So, I mean, I think when you're not doing great, I think that's almost where you learn the most.
For sure.
So it's always great with success, and that's what you need as a race car driver. But learning from your mistakes, learning from the downsides is so important.
That's a really interesting point. So tomorrow, you're starting second. You're leading the championship.
Third.
Oh, is it third?
It's third.
I thought it was second. Okay, third.
Yeah.
That's probably, that's not bad.
It's not bad. No,
You'll make it work from there.
Yeah, I'm still in front of the championship rivals, which is the most important part, and it's just about points from now.
Okay, well, that was my next question. Is he going to manage the championship? It sounds like you are. Obviously, you've got Braden Eads, who's the main competitor.
Yeah.
He had a rough qualifying 2 this morning.
Yep.
He finished 5th, I believe, in this race. So
yeah.
You're opening up that gap. Goals for the rest of the season is just to manage that championship?
No, for sure. I mean, that's the most important part. Race wins, that's great, and that's what gives you the most points. But if that's not possible sometimes, I mean, you just got to take what you can get, and I think that's kind of the mindset we're going in for the rest of the season.
No, that's good. It shows that Rasmussen has matured on the road to Indy. You're not just going for wins, you're going for that overall championship. And I know the Road to Indy TV fans are pretty excited watching Race 2 coming up tomorrow. Don't go away anywhere yet. We've got another podium finisher from Indy Pro 2000 Race 1 coming up here live on Road to Indy TV.
We're just having a great run right now.
We are.
Great to see, yeah.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, There will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
After a quick pit stop, we're right back here on Road to Indy TV Live. Fresh off his second podium of the season, Jacob Abel of Abel Motorsports. What a drive that was, I have to say.
Yeah, you know, it was a really fun race. I mean, it felt really long. Hunter McElroy, who I was battling against, was doing really, really well. He was, not making any mistakes. We were both pretty quick, I think, relative to the leaders. But we were just kind of stuck in that, dirty air, mid-Ohio, typical races. But I was just trying to do whatever I could to force him into a mistake. Finally, he made a little bit of a mistake out of the keyhole, and I got up alongside him on the back straightaway, and I think he just outbroke himself a little bit going into turn 4 there. But, yeah, really, really good to get back on the podium here for the Abel Motorsports crew.
Well, it's nice. It was a pretty lackluster race, and I have to say you probably spiced it up a little bit at the end. Take me through, obviously, on the start. You had an awesome start. You started 4th. You railed the outside through turn 1, textbook maneuver. Goes yellow right away. You do a restart. Probably wasn't your shiniest restart. What happened there?
Yeah, just got caught out a bit. Rasmussen went a lot quicker or earlier than I thought he was going to. So that kind of caught me out a little bit. And then the tires were obviously a little bit dirty just from the pace laps there. But yeah, the start was really interesting. I think I had an opportunity to almost go to the lead there, but I kind of laid back and didn't go for it because pretty low percentage move, but we'll see. Starting 6th tomorrow, so it might be trying more things like that.
I think you will for sure. Now, take me through this momentum you've built. Obviously, last year you got your first Road to Indy podium at Mid-Ohio. You've always been really good at Mid-Ohio. Just matches your style. Always results have been good. But this momentum, podium at Road America, you just got a win in another series that we won't mention here at Mid-Ohio last week, and now you come in here another podium.
Yeah, it's really, really, really good. I mean, momentum is everything, in racing, and confidence is huge. So to have that confidence rolling through to my home track here at Mid-Ohio was really good. Honestly, I can't help but be a little bit disappointed with qualifying. If I had to pick a track that I was going to get pole at this year, I would have picked Mid-Ohio. So a little bit disappointing there with a 4th and a 6th. But yeah, still really good to be able to race our way up to 3rd and get back on the podium.
Well, and if you know Mid-Ohio, this track changes more than any other track that we visit on the Road to Indy. I mean, from session to session, you might think you have a car you're competing for pole, and all of a sudden you end up outside the top 5. So you took one off the chin, 4th and 6th, but to race up to 3rd is fantastic, and I think everybody knows you've got a lot of momentum. What has been the change coming into this year? You just seem like a more mature Jacob.
Yeah, we had a big reconstruction in Abel Motorsports, bringing in John Bruner. He used to run Bilardi Auto Racing in Indy Lights a couple of years ago. So he's kind of reconstructed the team, and it's all been about confidence with everyone. I have a lot of confidence now in my engineer and the crew. Not that I didn't before, but a change is always good. I've raced for the same team my whole entire life, so it's almost like this year I was switching teams. Going to a new team is how I kind of envisioned it. So it kind of took all the excuses out of it and honestly put a lot of pressure on me. So I put a lot of work in the off season, and it's really paid off.
Well, that is awesome. John is not an easy guy to drive for, as many drivers in Indy Lights have found that out. So it's pretty cool that you've taken that pressure. And we've seen this new trust in Jacob Abel. We look forward to continuing to watch his success on the Road to Indy. Don't go away anywhere, fans. We've got race 2 of USF 2000 coming up at 2:30 Eastern. We look forward to getting Road to Indy action underway for the July 4th weekend here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.